Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really looking forward to a very exciting discussion. But as everyone is logging in and getting comfortable with the webinar platform, this would actually be a really great time to test out either the chat functionality and get familiar with that feature, or you can even use the questions feature as well. Feel free to drop any questions in there throughout the webinar. We'll be sure to keep an eye on it and answer any questions that you might have. We're really excited and happy to partner with ACS Technologies in this webinar to discuss how background screening protects your church, the staff, the volunteers, all of the people that walk through your doors essentially. What we're going to do also is we'll explore how Verified First integration into Realm can benefit your church. So before we dive into all that, just a few housekeeping items. This session is being recorded and we'll send out a copy of that recording to you after the webinar. Also, we encourage you to share the recording with any colleagues that you feel may benefit from what we're discussing today. And then again, if you do have any questions, feel free to utilize that question feature, or we will also provide some contact information to you and even send out a post-webinar survey that you can let us know if you have any questions or need to speak to further. So with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and do some introductions. My name is Stephanie Komnick. I am the supervisor over the partner management team here at Verified First, but I have also previously managed the ACS Technologies relationship. I'm also joined today by my colleague, Veronica Garcia. Veronica, really excited to have you here with us.
Thanks, Stephanie. I'm happy to be here too, and happy to be back at Verified First as a senior partner manager and overseeing the partnership that we have with ACS.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about Verified First, just in case you guys aren't familiar. We have been partnered with ACS Technologies for over 5 years now and have around 1,300 mutual clients, I would say. And really our goal is to provide the easiest, most efficient way to be able to effectively screen volunteers and employees when it comes to background checks, drug screening, verification, and we love to be able to provide those services all within the Realm solution. So really you can just continue to focus on your church mission and not have to spend too much time on that background screening piece. So let's take a look at what we will cover today.
All right, so today we will be discussing the importance and significant impact of employee and volunteer background screening, best practices to ensure the highest level of protection for your organization, and then we'll wrap it up with a walkthrough of Verified First integration with Realm.
Wonderful. Okay, so let's get started. Did I go too quick? There we go. Let's get started. We're going to first talk really about the reality of what churches are doing. The good news is a large amount of churches are screening their staff and volunteers. The not so good news is that 40% of them aren't requesting background checks that provide real-time data. So what I mean by that is that they are most likely going to databases, and those databases aren't continuously being updated by the counties or the states to really get that real-time data. So to add to that too, not all counties and states are required to report information into national databases because honestly, it's not a requirement. So that means that there could be some searches that are being conducted, but there's some gaps in just going to a database. However, there are some other searches that can be done to fill those gaps, and we'll discuss that a little bit later on as well. Let's pause just for one more moment, and I promise we'll get to really all the good stuff here. Wanted to launch a quick poll question because we're just curious of how many of you already have a background screening policy, and if you do, great, but is there a possibility for improvement, or if you're really not sure and would like to maybe get some assistance on that, we're happy to help out. So I'm going to launch a poll question here and let you guys take a few moments to provide your answer. We do have some great resources that we can give you guys on, importance of background screening, some best practices for setting up your policy, things like that. So we'll give everybody just a few more minutes to get some feedback, and then if you'd like us to reach out for some assistance, then that's great. Thank you guys for giving your answers here. We'll give it just a few more seconds. All righty, we'll go ahead and close that out. Appreciate you guys participating in that. So let's keep going on now. Like I said, let's really get into the heart of this presentation. So whether or not your background screening policy can use a little updating, let's also take a look at the significance of background screening your volunteers. So here's an interesting picture that we want to paint for you guys. 32% of all volunteers in America are involved in religious organizations. So we really love to see that and would love to see that percentage grow, but really great to, in my perspective, to see that number as high as it is. Another call out on here is that almost half of weekend church worship attendees are regularly serving as a volunteer. That's another great statistic to be proud of. I know that sometimes it could be a daunting task and take a lot of time and energy to even recruit volunteers. So I think that it's a really nice statistic to see that over half of people that are regularly attending church are not just stopping there, but they're also, serving the church in other ways. Mm-hmm. And then, with those two great stats, here's a little bit of a concerning part. 1 in 3 adults in America have a criminal record. So while we don't want to believe that our organization or that your church is safe from harm, the reality is there is always a risk. So having a background screening policy for your staff and volunteers that really helps make the decisions to protect your church is something that everyone can focus on. And really, it's super important. So you may be asking how a background check can help or even what a background check is. So let's take a look at what those things might be there. Even though this slide is asking what is a background check, it might also be worth asking why background check. And really the answer is it's going to provide a comprehensive picture of the person's life in and outside of your church. It's really just a trustworthy method to vet out your volunteers before they serve, and that's going to better protect your ministry, your people, and its mission. So hopefully within your policy too, you're able either within the policy itself or when you're talking about here's the steps when you want to volunteer, really having the why behind the background check, because I know sometimes too, people get a little bit uneasy as to, looking for information, even if they don't have a record. And so I think helping to provide that why might give some ease to some people as well. So you may then also, I'm just totally assuming that the questions are going through your head, but you may also ask yourself, what does a background check screen for? And really it's going to depend on the type of background check that you're needing to do for, say, a volunteer position, but really at a high level, it's going to show you things like previous convictions. It could confirm an identity for someone, such as an employment verification, especially if you're looking to hire someone on staff. It can also help attest to the overall character of a person by, say, running something such as a personal reference check. All of these things are going to ensure that you're finding the right volunteer or employee for your church and its ministries. That way you can feel confident that you're protecting everybody that attends or serves each week.
Awesome. So let's dive into some screening best practices. First, I just want to say that it's not enough to run a background check just to check the box. Background screening should be intentional, just as your efforts are in other areas to create a safe and comfortable environment for worship. So how would you go about being intentional about your background screening policy? Well, to start, first thing is about being consistent with your background screening and having a church-wide policy. And what we mean by that is, at the very minimum, all of your staff and volunteers should be screened the same. There are some exceptions to this based on roles. So for example, if you have a volunteer that is going to be handling donation money, then you may want to run a credit check on that person just to make sure that they're financially responsible and have had no previous bad experiences with money. And another example would be maybe someone that is working in the nursery where they're going to be around children, you would probably want to add something like a sex offender registry search. But the baseline for everyone should be the same. Second, you'll want to ensure you know what roles to screen for and what search to do while being consistent. So again, think about who you're hiring or what volunteers are coming in for, what their responsibilities are, and also make sure that your screening packages are designed to fit that role. And then lastly, it might not be considered a best practice necessarily, but integrating your church management platform with your background screening provider is a huge bonus for anyone who has the two platforms together. It just helps streamline the whole process. It helps take the stress out of running the background checks on everyone, especially if you have high volume volunteers or if you're hiring a lot for upcoming events and whatnot. It's nice when the two softwares can talk together, and that way you're not being hung up on this process that can be cumbersome if they're not working together. So this is something Verified First can help with, having an integration with Realm, and we highly recommend that you take advantage of it. All right, so when to run a background check? When thinking about the right times to run a background check, most organizations probably think a one and done policy is enough. But what we know is that we never know ahead of time when someone is going to commit a crime. So we strongly recommend a recurring screening policy to ensure the safety of your people and environment. A few examples of when to run a background check would include upon hire, before major seasons with high staff requirements and volunteer participation, such as Vacation Bible School, for example. When someone changes their role or title and their responsibilities change. So for example, someone has moved to a position handling money when they were not before, or taking over Vacation Bible School with kids. Those are things to be aware of. And also, if you host an event at a new venue, such as a school or a public park where there's children around or at-risk demographics, then you'll definitely want to keep that in mind as well, and potentially add a new screen to your package for those volunteers to make sure that you're keeping everyone around you safe. And then lastly, if you haven't checked in a while, if you have right now one of those one and done policies and it's been several years since you've run a background check on someone, it definitely would not hurt to do so, just to make sure that nothing has happened between the time that you've hired that volunteer or staff member and the time that you're considering running a new screen.
Those are great, Veronica. I feel like, there could be some in there that some people might not have thought of, such as, changing a role or position or something like that. So really great to have all the different times where a background check would be applicable. So to further expand a little bit, here's a list of common background checks. And so really to echo what Veronica said earlier about being consistent, these are the searches that you can run on all of your staff and volunteers, and then you can add on additional searches, such as when she was speaking about someone handling money, they would add on the consumer credit report. Versus let's say you guys have someone volunteering to drive, maybe they're picking up elderly to be able to attend church, you would probably want to add on a motor vehicle report to them. Another pro tip to help with consistency is to create packages for each position. So that way you can just simply choose the right searches based on what the volunteer position is or staff member, and not having to remember all the individual searches that you need to be conducting for that individual. So one search that we do want to highlight that wasn't on the previous slide, I don't believe, is the abuse registry search. And what this is it's a statewide report that pulls abuse and neglect records from a centralized database for vulnerable groups. Each state that has this search will report on whether your volunteer, applicant, or staff member is on a particular state's abuse registry or not. So really, abuse registries go beyond the criminal charges to help fill out more of the picture. However, since each state manages their registry, it's highly recommended that you review the requirements and really what it is and what it's going to do with legal counsel if you do have any additional questions. But we have gotten some questions as well as like, well, what's the difference between abuse registry versus the sex offender registry? And just kind of at high level that people that may be on abuse registry, you know, could potentially not have also been convicted of a sexually related crime that would then result them to be on the sex offender registry as well. So again, just really trying to fill in those gaps as much as possible. And this search is great to consider when you have people that are going to be around those vulnerable populations.
This is a really good call out, I think. And for some who might think, well, why would I run an additional search like that for the registry? But I think it's more of a why not type of thing. The more you know, the more informed you can be when you're making your decisions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So another good practice is to rescreen your staff and volunteers. Most churches do it annually, and really even just organizations in general. But since we're talking to you guys today, we're concerned with your church. So annually it is probably the most frequent. It might also be beneficial to do those annual searches during a less busy time of year. You know, we definitely recommend that you're doing the background checks in those peak seasons right before Vacation Bible School or back to school, but really going through your entire list of volunteers, especially if it's quite large, doing that maybe when it's a little less busy can seem more manageable. So it's encouraged to rescreen in order for you to really have up-to-date records. If someone has changed roles or responsibilities, it really helps you keep compliant, especially when it's a staff member. You know, compliance is obviously going to be a big piece as well. And the last thing really that anybody wants to see is your church in a headline that's going to have a negative impact on your reputation. So that's why we highly recommend rescreening as well. And as you can see by the stat on the right, 24% of sex offenders will reoffend with violent and nonviolent crimes in their lifetime. So that just goes to show that, you know, even if someone was clear when they first started to volunteer, if you haven't screened them in a year or two, not a bad idea to do that, because you just never know if something has happened in that time frame that they've been volunteering.
Yep. You don't know what you don't know, but if you're checking, then hopefully you stay on top of it and avoid bad situations.
Absolutely. So we've given you guys a ton of information so far, and what we want to do is dive into how you can really get started with your background screening, you know, policy and procedures, and seeing really where you can kind of start. So we'll kind of break it down for you here.
Yep, I'll jump in here. So at risk of sounding like a broken record, again, thinking about the role and the associated responsibilities is going to be big here. Let that assist you in determining who needs to be screened and what types of screens should be run for that position, as well as how frequently you should be running them. Think about what the rules are for who you hire and what you're willing to accept in someone's background and what is considered maybe a hard no. Those things are all going to help you build a package that's best fit for those roles. You also want to make sure that you are staying in compliance with the FCRA regulations, which we are the professionals for that here, and we can assist with making sure that you're staying compliant and answer any questions that you may have. But also seeking legal counsel about your policy is highly recommended as well. Again, we're going to strongly recommend that you integrate your background screening into your church management solution to create a smoother and more effective hiring process that helps you fill those positions faster. We know that with some of these busy seasons coming up that you know, it may seem like you're already running around like crazy trying to get everything done and be prepared for your events, but having a smooth process that all integrates and talks to one another will save you time. We promise you this. And lastly, make the call. So now you've gotten all the information about someone, you've done your due diligence, and you're looking at this applicant, and now you get to ask yourself, does it feel like a good fit to me? Do I feel safe and trust? Can I trust this person within my organization? I have all the information in front of me. Now you get to make that decision. And as an integrated partner of Realm, we can support you every step of the way with this process. So please do not feel like you can't reach out to us and ask us any questions.
Awesome. That was a nice, easy, kind of digestible way to break all that down. So great information there.
Yeah. And then I'm going to add just a few other benefits here that you'll experience with our integrated solution. So first, I want to highlight, you do not pay any extra fees to integrate Verified First into Realm. We realize that, you know, having your software is in place, you've already probably got a lot of expenses stacking up, and the last thing we want you to worry about is paying to make them all talk to one another. So Our integration with Realm is free. It's super easy to implement, and you get a consolidated experience launching a background check from beginning to end, all within Realm. I also want to mention that we are PBSA accredited as a consumer reporting agency, which is fancy for a background check provider. But that means that we have strict security protocols, and we also have flexible customization features as well. So while we take security very seriously, and we want to keep that in mind for your church, we also want to make this solution fit your needs. And so we offer a wide range of features that you can choose from to make sure that this policy is easy to use for you, and it just supports your business in the best way that it can. So again, our technology works for you and your needs, including receiving status updates. Another thing that we're big on is communication. We want you to know exactly what's going on with your background check reports. So we provide continuous updates to you, updated ETAs, so that you're never in the dark about what's going on with the background check. And we also give you the ability to customize screening packages on the fly. So going back to what we said about having a baseline screening policy for every staff member and volunteer, but depending on their role, you may need to add something, or maybe last minute if you're changing venues or having a special event that requires an additional background check to be added. You can do that without having to pick up the phone and call us. You can just simply go into the system or into the integration and add another background check to your package on the fly, easy to do, and you're on your way. And then the last thing, well, not the last thing, but one of the things I want to highlight too is our texting capabilities. I think we all know that we're constantly on the run these days, and I don't know about anyone else here, but I definitely respond to a text message a lot faster than just about anything else. So please do take advantage of our texting capabilities as well. It helps you connect with the candidate or the volunteer a lot faster. And again, it just goes into making your hiring process more efficient so you can get people into those roles faster. And this is last, but certainly not least, is we want to support you. So Verified First here, we strive for and are awarded for our world-class customer support. Our goal is to ensure that you can quickly and confidently hire the right people to support your church and its purpose. So with all that being said, I think it's ready to see the powerful technology in action. Stephanie, what do you think?
Yes, and I hope everybody's able to stick around just a little bit longer in case you do have to leave here, halfway through the hour. I'll give you a quick highlight, but enough to give you guys a good idea of what the experience would look like. So one thing I want to call out is that our integration, we typically are referring to what we call also a web browser extension. And what that means, I'll actually show you guys here live if I could type quick enough. I use Google Chrome, so I'm going to the Chrome web store and I'm going to search for Verified First. Uh-oh, Verified First. Nope, I didn't type it right. Let's try that again. There we go. And found the option here. And my button would say add to Chrome, but I already have it on my computer. But when you guys click add to Chrome, it's a matter of seconds that it downloads as an extension on your computer, much as downloading an app on your phone. And then as long as you have an account with Verified First, then you'll be able to hop into your Realm platform and begin to run background checks. There are some additional steps that we'll provide to you guys before you really even get to this part of the process, but that's just really how quick and easy it is to set up the integration and get it ready to go. So our test guy here, Mr. Hank Mess, he's volunteering for the first time, and so we want to run a background check on him. The screen with Verified First button will be listed here for you under his profile, and you're going to choose Place New Order. And so talking about some of the things we mentioned earlier, such as creating packages for each of the volunteer roles, so it's super easy, and making sure that you're choosing the right searches for that person. You can set up whatever packages you want. We're happy to do it for you, but we want to give you the ability to add, edit, remove any packages that you'd like, and be able to customize it to your needs. So you can choose whatever packages are set up in your account. You can also see what those searches are. So if it's kind of a vague package where you're like, I'm not sure if it's going to be for this volunteer or not, you can see what all the searches are that would be ran within that particular package. But you can also edit all of the searches at the time of ordering as well. So if there's a certain reason why, you know, someone's not going to get a sex offender registry, or maybe, you know, you chose the wrong package and just want to uncheck the box or something like that, you have the ability again to do that when you're ordering as well. Now down here, it's going to pre-populate the individual's first name, last name, middle name even, and email address. It did not do it in here, and the reason for that is because we didn't have an email address listed on this test person. I didn't catch that beforehand, but as long as those pieces of information are in the profile in Realm, it'll carry over. And that's just a benefit that we want to provide to you guys, so you're not having to manually enter in any of the information, and then also even risking possibly entering it in incorrectly, because as you saw, I had a hard time typing the word first. And so we just don't want, you know, you to be placing an order where the person's name is incorrect, and then we have to rerun it and unfortunately charge you again for that. So that's like the first part of the integration there. And then down below, there's two options to like officially submit the request. You can click next. You'll have to fill in some additional personal information for that applicant or potential staff member. So we really recommend using the send invite feature. What that will do is it will email a link to the individual. You can also send that same link via text message. So that's going back to where Veronica touched on earlier, is that, you know, text messaging is probably the preferred method for most people for communication. And we have found that the person will respond to the text message on average 8 hours sooner than if you send it via email. So if you're in like peak season for trying to get as many volunteers as possible, probably sending them a text would push them through the process a little bit further. So I'll just do the email invite option for right now. And so sending that invite off, once that person clicks on the link, they're going to electronically sign all the disclosure and authorization forms that's needed before we can even run the background check. And then they're also going to fill out the additional information such as social, date of birth. If you do need a motor vehicle report ran on them, they'll put in their driver's license, things like that. And then also you can see in the extension, it's kind of telling you the status of, okay, we're waiting on the applicant. Our system will even send reminders to that person, so you guys don't have to do any follow-up on your own. And then also too, while you guys are doing all the things you need to do in Realm, if you forget whether or not you requested the background check on that person, that button also acts like a status for you too. So you know, okay, it's in their hands. As soon as they fill everything out, it'll start processing. Similarly, that button will also change to report complete, and you can view the report directly within that extension integration as well. Let me see if I can find a test guy real quick to show you that. Let's try. We like to order on Hank a lot. No, we don't have a test one on here too, but it would work the same where you'd click the button that says report complete. There's there'd be another green button kind of up here on a different screen, and you'd say view report, and it'll pop out further from you on here. So again, just kind of really driving home is we don't want you to have to use several different platforms, log in here, log in there. We want you guys to stay in your main platform, which is Realm, or any of the other ACS technology platforms. This integration works the exact same. You can, you know, run the background check and not have to be bouncing around to different platforms. So told you I'd keep it as quickly as possible just in case anybody did need to leave here soon. Let's take a peek and see if there's any questions. I know Veronica already touched on that the integration is free, but the other big question we usually get around pricing is like, how much does the background check cost? Luckily, the way that we have the partnership formed with ACS Technologies, specifically for people that are utilizing Realm, is that we do have set pricing and packages for you guys. So if you're curious on how much would it cost as a total package if I put these types of searches in it, or how much would it cost for adding on a motor vehicle report. ACST actually has all that information on their website as well. So I think it's the last slide we have. There is some detailed pricing information there for you. But as always, you guys can reach out to us directly too, and we'll definitely give you the same dollar amount that that is listed on the website too. So we are very, very aligned there that way. Another question that we frequently get that I always like to address is, what does implementation look like, or how long is it going to take for me to be able to start running background checks when I, say that I'm ready to start the process? It's pretty seamless. You guys are actually able to turn on your background screening functionality within Realm, and going through those steps, we then get notified that you want to sign up for an account with us. We'll have someone reach out just to confirm a few pieces of information, and then get it over to our onboarding team to create your account and reach out to you for training. So from the time that we get notified that you're ready to set up an account, it'll take about, I'd say on average, 2, maybe 3 business days to get the account set up and have someone reach out to you to schedule that training. And then again, depending on like when calendars can align for the official training, that's going to depend. But I would say on average, from that kind of start to finish where you can really start running your background checks, would be about 5 to 7 business days. So hopefully that gives you guys a good idea. I think now we do understand the seasonality with churches and volunteers as well. So, I would think now, or maybe at the beginning of the year, would be a really good time to look at what you guys are currently doing for background screening and get yourself all kind of settled and familiar with whatever platform you choose to use. That way, when the peak season of VBS and Easter and all of that come about, you're not having to deal with learning a new system too. So those are some kind of common questions we usually get. So I wanted to make sure that we address that. I don't see any questions in the chat, which is fine. Maybe Veronica and I have done a great job where we've provided all the information to you. So let's hop back over to the rest of our presentation where we can kind of round some things out. So since we didn't have any questions, that's fine. Again, we're going to send you a really quick post-webinar survey, so you can always ask a question there too, and we'll be sure to answer. So here's where you guys can learn a little bit more or really get the process started. On the left, there's that QR code. So, get your phone handy if you have it. What that's going to do, it's going to take you to a page on our website that talks a little bit more about our partnership with ACS Technologies and the integration. There is a form there you can fill out if you do want to talk to us further or set up an account. And then also on the right, this is the website website link that I referred to, where it's going to show you all of the packages, the pricing. At the bottom of it, there will be these instructions right here on how to get started. If you're like, this is great, it's what I'm looking for, I'm ready to just get going with it. Follow those steps within your Realm platform, and then again, we'll get notified and get you set up on our end as well. So hopefully that gave you guys a good way to reach out to us if needed. So before we officially close things out, I just wanted to say thank you again to everybody that joined us today. If you had a question that you didn't think of to ask live, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll make sure that we help you that way too. And then again, one more time, when the webinar ends, you're going to see a brief survey pop up. We love feedback, even if it's not great feedback, to be real honest, because then we want to make sure we do better the next time. So would love your feedback on what you thought about this presentation. If you want to talk to us further, all that is really great. And then a big thank you to Veronica again for helping with the presentation. Really, really appreciate all the information that you provided as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, we look forward to hearing from you guys and hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.